Hey, I'm Eric, I'm the Explorer.
I'm Phil, I'm the Folklorist.
And together we are setting out across the Empire State to explore the haunts and legends of New York.
Set well off of Route 8 near the banks of the Unadilla River is a cemetery that's the final resting place of many of the area's early residents, including the mausoleum of Eunice Welsh. There are stories of knocking and hissing coming from the tomb. We visit the cemetery to see if the stories are true of the restless spirit Eunice Welsh.
Well, Phil, we have come to the outskirts of West Edmeston off of Route 8 here in central New York for a story you've been telling me about something that goes knocking in the night in the cemetery.
Yeah, this one's really interesting. There's a legend of an undead crypt keeper.
Really?
So, what the idea is there's this story that's come up, and allegedly, if you go to this person's tomb, this person's crypt, and knock on the door, you'll hear knocking back and maybe even voices telling you to leave.
Knocking and hissing voices. I'm glad we're here during the day. Let's go explore and see if we can find this crypt.
Absolutely.
Mrs. Welsh she dies in 1922 of natural causes. She was in her 70s. She had two or three sons that were still alive. The only thing we saw that might be a little odd is about 6 months after her death, her house burns down. But, you know, everything about her, she died after having kidney and heart trouble for about 6 weeks. A number of newspapers in Otsego County and Shenango, Madison, and even in Oneida County, the Utica Herald, cover her obituary, talking about what a wonderful woman she was. And her family actually operated businesses up until the last 30 years or so. They were still farming in the area, throughout West Winfield and into Brookfield. And in fact, I think one of the sons, Clayton Welch, I believe there's still a relative in the Brookfield area that bears his name.
The story of Eunice Welsh is this ghoul that knocks back from the tomb, which is like anybody who's been there. It's apparently a challenge for high school students in the area, and it's also rather well known in the community, but not really anyone outside of like traditional folklore. So the question is, how much of this story have you heard before?
Before you guys reached out to me, I had never heard it, nor had any of the historians I reached out to. But that's not surprising, because we don't tend to dabble in this kind of, as you said, folklore. You know, so it was something new to me. In the aftermath, one of my relatives went down and tried it and had no luck either, as did the Shenango County historian Patty Evans, who wanted to see it herself, went up and commented what a nice cemetery it was, but she also had no luck with the knocking as well.
So is there any insight as why do you think this legend sort of occurred?
Persists.
As I said, the only thing we can find that dealing with Mrs. Welch was that her home burned down, and about 4 or 5 years later, the house is somebody actually rebuilt on the foundation, but nothing that leads you to believe that she would be cursed or anything else. And more than likely, it was probably, you know, kids doing something silly and kind of doing it. My understanding is where she is entombed, that's actually the old storage for. You know, in the old days, they didn't dig during the winter. And a couple people have said that was where they stored bodies until they could dig in the spring. Mm-hmm. And it just bears her name now. So I'm not really sure where it came from, but my guess would just be people being silly.
The other interesting thing we noticed was she died 4 years before that memorial, that tomb was erected.
Yeah, we looked around trying to figure that out, and we have yet to come up with a really valid reason why. As I said, the only thing I can come up with is they start to rebuild her house, and maybe her family thought that was a good idea at that point in time to honor her. I'm not real sure, but yeah, a lot of stuff happens kind of in her past her existence in 1926. The home starts to get rebuilt, and this monument is dedicated to her. But like I said, from what I understand, for a long time it wasn't even a monument meant for her. It was the storage for bodies until they could bury them in the spring.
And they probably just put up the plaque as her being a very prominent citizen, and somebody at the time wanted to honor that memory.
And that would probably be a good, that would be a good guess.
Looks like we have found the spot where Eunice was laid to rest with her husband and a young son that died, preceded both the mother and father in death. So this is where Eunice is, but her the crypt that is built in her honor or in her memory appears to be at the other opposite end of the cemetery. Well, Phil, our source material said the cemetery was an unnamed cemetery. I think it's pretty clear with the West Edmeston Cemetery.
Yeah.
And here is, erected in 1926, this crypt in memory of Eunice Welsh. So it's not that Eunice is inside.
But this is basically a memorial dedicated to her because of, I think, maybe her money actually helped build this. And well, now where bodies are sort of kept when it's too cold to actually bury them. So.
Now, what's interesting, of course, is this is actually a safe door here.
Well, you need to make it secure, so you don't have people just sort of getting in there, you know.
Clay Safe Company, Buffalo. We've encountered safes before. In Utica, we found one inside the Proctor Memorial Building, yes.
It looks very similar, both the vault door and this. Similar construct, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely. So, it's time to test the legend. Knocking or hissing sounds coming from this door.
Now, they said it didn't matter if it was night, doesn't matter any time. This is the alleged haunting, or the undead that are inside, then knock back and tell us to leave.
You doing the honors, or shall I?
I'll do it.
One more time, just
That's a hard door. It hurts.
Nothing so far. Although, with that hollow door, you could certainly imagine how you could hear the echo that comes through.
Oh yes, I mean you can actually hear the reverberations inside of it echoing off, and it's hello.
Yes, you get an echo
from myself just saying that.
I wonder if you can pick that up on the microphone. Yes, hello. Yeah, you get there's an echo if you step right in here.
Oh, absolutely, and anybody that's daring themselves to in the middle of the night, you hear the traces of anyone banging back from you. The more interesting thing is this was constructed 4 years after her death. Simply because of the plaque up here, people are attributing this haunting or this legend, this ghoul, to actually her, when she's not even buried here.
Right.
She's buried on the other side of the cemetery.
Right. So it's her name, but it likely has nothing to do with Eunice at all.
Absolutely not. I mean, it's a memorial to her, like helps keep her memory around, but this is clearly just something that's built up out of folklore. It's a legend. Very commonly for a lot of the high school students in the area that have mentioned this to us, that you come here at night, you bang on the door, you wait for the voice, you hear the voice of Eunice telling you to leave or banging back at you. And in this instance, there's really no traces of that. And our folklorists really and our historians had issues with this too, trying to track down the actual origin of this story.
Well, Phil, it may be different coming here on a very late, dark night, but here on a gorgeous autumn day, just off of the state highway, I'm not feeling too convinced that there's anything inside that door. that's...
Honestly, I'm feeling a really big urban legend and a lot of like rural folklore that are feeding into this.
Well, thank you, Eunice, for letting us visit and letting us visit the West Edmeston Cemetery. Well, Phil, we came to visit Eunice. We visited her, but I don't think we found her or anyone else who may be in that crypt.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything in the crypt right now based on the echo. And the fact that they believe there's a ghoul, an undead crypt keeper there, really just feels like folklore and urban legend to me.
If nothing else, it was a nice autumn drive to West Edmeston. If you enjoy the Haunts and Legends of New York series, let us know by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe.
And hit the comments below to let us know where else we should go.
This is the Haunts and Legends of New York.